Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, the 14th day of March 2025. Of course, my name is Alexis Jeffers, and it is indeed my pleasure being here this afternoon, as I've tried to do every Friday afternoon for the last year and change. And indeed, as we start the program this afternoon, we normally would recognize those persons who are in our midst, who are listening. So I want to say good afternoon to all the folks here on Nevis who are tuning into Von Radio, of course, down in St. Kitts. We do have a large following down there as well. And indeed, the neighboring islands, Statia, Sabre, St. Bart's, French and Dutch St. Martin, also the British and US Virgin Islands, and indeed Puerto Rico. Yes, we have nationals down there as well. Also in the United States, from the East Coast all the way across the West Coast, and of course the whole of Canada, east to west and west to east as well. And while I'm on that, let me also recognize some persons who constantly tell me that they're tuned in. So don't be afraid to call my name. That is what they would have told me. So I want to recognize persons up there in New York, for example, Myrtlin, Felicia, Clive, and of course up in Canada, Skipper. We all know Ursula Daniel, yeah? We call her Skipper as a nickname. That's the name she has had ever since I know her. And Ruth and Viola, of course, these two good people would have just left Nevis a few days ago, Hugh and Mabel Jeffers. And of course, Marva was here getting some warmth as well too. So we have some persons who would regularly come to Nevis, but no matter where they are, if they go back home, they stay in touch with the island in terms of listening to Von Radio and listening to what is emanating from this station, of course. Up in Europe, of course, the whole of United Kingdom, of course, France, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, wherever you are as nationals, I say good day to you or good afternoon to you in some cases, and of course all the way into Asia, specifically the Republic of China, Taiwan, where we have our students and also nationals who are there for various reasons. So wherever you are as a national of St. Kitts and Nevis, and also as a Nevisian, we say welcome to you and continue to do what you normally do to make sure that you are creating that impact wherever you are. Of course, we start that way on a Friday afternoon, but we also would have a set pattern whereby we'll acknowledge those persons who are in the bereaved column. And this afternoon I want to start with my condolences to the family of Mr. Keith Keji Glasgow. Last Friday, while we were there at the VOJN Primary School Sports, the news came that we would have lost Keith Glasgow, or Keji as he is affectionately known, and it certainly brought about some somberness and certainly sometimes when you expect someone to depart this life because of what they're going through and what they may be experiencing, it is always a difficult bit of news to receive, and that was the case last Friday afternoon. And so I want to express my sympathies to the entire family over there in Brickhill, and I'll name some persons as well too, because I want to individually acknowledge all those who are going through difficult times as a result of the passing of Keji. Of course, I want to acknowledge first and foremost his brother up there in Florida, Dr. Talbot Glasgow. He was the one who was providing updates accordingly, and I know both him and Keith were very close as brothers, as with most of the persons in the family, but I know of this special bond and this special relationship. And of course I also want to acknowledge Mrs. Alexa Glasgow Pemberton. Well, she's here on the island of Nevis, lives down there in Cox. Verlin Glasgow, Glenn, Chevon, Errol or Cosmo as we would know him, Joya, sister. Of course Delia, can't forget Delia. Delia is always there knitting the family together. She's one of the persons who is somewhat like the fulcrum of the family over there in Brickhill. Gracia down there in St. Martin. Gracia, accept my sympathies. I know you have your various challenges as well too, and this one must be a difficult one for you. Melsonia is here with us right now, but of course there are the other families up there in England. I want to express my sympathies to all of you and the entire Brooklyn community, because we have lost, someone who we would consider to be a stalwart over there in the Brick Hill community, but more so throughout the island of Nevis, because of course Keith Glasgow was a teacher. He became a head teacher as well. He was a bus operator, a shopkeeper. He was also involved in so many different community-related activities and social activities here on the island of Nevis. But most importantly, up until his passing, or just before his passing, he retired as a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Social Development and so forth. And so Keith would have made his contributions to the development of the island of Nevis and further afield as well. And so I want to say to all who are listening, Keith was a man who was, someone who was filled with life. And he was a man of integrity, a man of wisdom, a man of, understanding, to the point where you can have a discussion with Keith. And I can't recall if he was ever angry about anything per se. Perhaps he was angry at times, but he was very forceful, vociferous, and he stuck to his point in many regards. But you would never tell that he was angry with you when it was all said and done. In terms of Culturama, though, he certainly was perennially a part of the Calypso Show subcommittee during our Culturama over the years. And I want to give a personal story, really, when it comes to Keith. He was a teacher, like I said before. He would have taught, I believe he taught at the Zion Primary School, I believe so. I might stand corrected in that regard. Someone who is older than me and someone who have recollection of that may want to confirm or dismiss it. But I believe he started there, or he had a year or two there. But anyway, I would have been influenced by him at the Gingerland Secondary School, where he taught principles of business. And I believe those who were in school those years would know that when you are preparing to do overseas exams, you had to do an exam to determine whether you'll undertake that particular subject, whether at the basic level or the general proficiency level. And so you had to get 50%. I believe I fell short by about 5 points, 5 marks, or whatever the case might be. Got about 45. And my good friend there, when I say my good friend, we were classmates and we got along good to some extent. I haven't seen much of him in recent times. Raymond Forbes. Both of us would have failed that exam. And of course we were disappointed. So we went to Keith Glasgow, to the staff room, and I believe it was somewhere at the back of the staff room. We had our discussion with him, and we begged him, beseeched him. As a matter of fact, water came to my eyes, because I told Mr. Glasgow that I believe I can take the subject at the general proficiency level and pass it. Lo and behold, he would have accepted our plea, and he determined that we can certainly undertake that particular subject, principles of business, at the general proficiency. And you know what? Both Raymond and I would have studied together, at the back of the lab up there in those bush, those trees in the back. We went behind there and studied, and we did what we did then. And let's say this, we both came out with distinction at the general proficiency level. And not only that, we both would have failed the exam for accounts as well, principles of accounts. And we went to Keith Glasgow's sister, which I just mentioned, her name, Alexis Glasgow, and we begged and beseeched as well. Alexa may remember, I don't know, but these things have stayed with me, because when someone would have had an influence on your life and would have given you that chance, you can't forget these things. And so both Raymond and I can tell you as well, both Raymond and I, Raymond Forbes that is, would have gotten distinction for accounts as well, principles of accounts. So both principles of business and principles of accounts, we would have failed at the initial stage in terms of the exam to determine whether we can take it at the general proficiency level, and we were given that chance, and we both would have studied together, and we both would have gotten distinction for that particular proficiency. And that is something that always stuck with me. And what I'm going to divert for just a quick bit and say something else that has always stuck with me is the fact that my name was not on any list to go to Gingerland Secondary School back in those days, whatever year it was. But I can recall my uncle and I went down to Mrs. Nichols' home that Friday evening, begged and beseeched Mrs. Nichols. She was then the education officer at that point in time, and she gave me the chance. She said, "Young man, go to Gingerland Secondary School on Monday. I'm going to make a call and let them know you're coming." Lo and behold, I went, and when I bounced into the headmistress office, they said my name was not there. They even threatened to send me back to St. James Primary School, but as a compromise, they said, "You know what? You'll do 2 exams, maths and English. If you fail them both, you're going back to St. James Primary School." Well, I passed the English in flying colors, failed the maths, and so I was able to stay at Gingerland Secondary School based on that. You know, I was quite upset because all my friends were going to high school, and I was told, "You're too young to go to high school at that point in time." I was not yet 12. But anyway, I was able to stay at the Gingerland Secondary School based on the fact that I passed the English and failed the maths, yes. But, you know, I stayed, and I am ever so grateful to Mrs. Nichols for giving me that chance to go to Gingerland High School, or else I might have been 1 year behind in everything. Come back to what I was saying in terms of Keith Glasgow. Keith was one of those persons who would have certainly given many persons chances in life. And as a matter of fact, as the principal of the Gingerland Secondary School, if I'm not mistaken, he would have gotten, some years back, the best pass rates in the Federation. Might stand corrected as well. Any teacher that is out there who would recall that would correct me on the street, but I believe there was a year when he was there as the principal of that school. Gingerland Secondary School would have had their best ever performance then in the Federation of the St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course that could be attributed to the efforts that were exerted by Keith Glasgow. And so his efforts cannot be underestimated, cannot be overlooked, and as such we cannot forget the exploits of Keji and what he would have meant while he was here on this earth. He was a member of my church as well, the St. James Anglican Church. Of course, he read scriptures regularly, and he was one who was in command of the English language. Yeah? Yeah, well, you know, everybody have their little dialect. I speak with some, I speak dialect sometimes as well too, but Keith Glasgow was always, in command, and he was so authoritative when he spoke. Boy, listen, I am so sad to learn of Keith's passing. Keith, full of life and still had life ahead of him, I'm sure, but boy, I tell you, the Lord knows, eh? Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll leave that for now, because this is what life is all about, huh? I suppose you're born, you live, and you die. So I want to once again express my profound condolences to the entire community out there in Brickhill, and also the Glasgow family. Anyway, let's move right along, because this one you can get emotional over these things. Yes, persons will die from time to time. Of course, people are born every day, and of course people celebrate birthdays as well. I want at this point in time to acknowledge someone who has been around for a long time. Tomorrow is her birthday. Frances Jeffers, or Frances Hicks Jeffers. She was married before, of course, so that's where the Jeffers comes in. So she is going to be, with God's help, 101 years tomorrow. Francis, if you're listening, I'm coming to at least say happy birthday to you, and whatever I can bring, I'll bring for you, because But all I can say to you is that no matter what I bring will not be enough. What is enough for you now is that God has given you the strength to live to see 101 years. This is a long, long, long time to live. And as such, we want to pray and hope that you'll live to see as many more years as the Lord would provide for you. And so, to all those who have taken care of Francis, Anton, Gladys, Pepper, the grandchildren, Finey, Winky, and all the others, Mackie, of course, Mackie Francis, the grandson, and all of the family members that continue to rally around Francis to make sure she's taken care of. I say congratulations to you. God bless you. God bless the entire Hicks and Jeffers and France family over there in the Scarborough, Combermere area. Also, going further afield, let me express birthday greetings to Vida Stapleton Baptista up there in Florida as well. I pick up this on Facebook, Vida. Today is your birthday. I want you to have a lot of fun today. Enjoy yourself. And as I've always said from these microphones, enjoy your birthday as if it's the last that you'll be enjoying, but we wish you many more years of enjoyment to come. And so whatever you have in terms of finances, spend some on yourself. Spend as much as you can and enjoy it to the max. And those who are out there celebrating today, I said to you, enjoy your birthday, enjoy your anniversary, enjoy whatever celebration you are encountering at this time. And so may God bless all of you, and may God continue to bless you throughout the years to come. Yeah. Okay, let's move along quickly. The weather is fantastic outside. It's kind of hot, yes, but it's a typical Navision weather. We had some rain earlier in the week, and I believe today's full moon, if I'm not mistaken. If today's full moon, I pray for some rain this evening or this afternoon or whatever, because the crops need it, the trees need it, everyone need it, farmers need it, of course, yeah. And indeed, but it's a wonderful day outside, beautiful day. And I want to say that to all those who are out there in the United States and Canada, if you're still experiencing some cold weather, you can still plan a trip, you know. You can still plan a trip and come home and spend some time with us and enjoy some of the warmth that we have to offer here. Not only the warmth, but the scenery and the ambience that we have here on the island of Nevis. It is so beautiful here that I shudder to think that I would want to live anywhere else other than here on the island of Nevis. Not with this type of weather, not with this type of environment, and not with this type of ambience. I will not go anywhere else. So I'm inviting you to come down and experience what we experience here. Pretty much almost 12 months of the year, you know. So come on down. Okay, moving right along. The Honorable Alexis Jeffers Cricket Festival will be held on April 20th. That is Easter Sunday. We've been having this for the past 7 years, and so this year will be no different. So I am putting in this plug early so that at least persons can mark their calendars and make your plans to come out and spend that afternoon with us. Easter Sunday, which is the 20th of April. And of course, we have already a lineup here for you. In that, we have a Guyanese select team out of St. Kitts. We'll be playing a Guyanese select team out of Nevis. And of course, the St. Kitts senior cricket team, select team that is, will play the Nevis senior select cricket team. So there are 2 matches scheduled for that afternoon over there at the VOJN Sporting Facility. And indeed, we have some cash prizes for the winners, also the losing teams, and of course some cash prizes for the man of the match or player of the match in each match, that is. And so we'll have music, we'll have food, we'll have drinks, we'll have the whole gamut of things over there available for you to have a festive time. So that is the Honorable Alexis Jeffers 7th Annual Cricket Festival, which will be held over there at the VOJN Sporting Facility on Easter Sunday, the 20th of April 2025. More information will be provided accordingly, as we just placed a flyer out there with some, some information just to let the general public know that we're coming with this particular activity, as we have done over the past 7 7 years. Anyway, you'll hear more about it as we go along. Okay, moving right along. Of course, earlier this week I would have seen a notice put out by the Department of Agriculture regarding the price of local eggs. A few weeks ago I started talking about eggs here on the island of Nevis. Some persons have met me and have said that they've gone into the supermarkets and have seen eggs for $25 per dozen. And I would have told them in no uncertain terms, those cannot be local eggs. Yeah? And so I would have said back then as well, and I say now, when you go into the supermarkets, you look for those containers that mark local. And once you see those containers that are marked local, then you know the Department of Agriculture would have put out a notice and have said that local eggs, a dozen, the price is capped at $10 per dozen. Of course, if you're getting one of those flat racks with 30 eggs on them, that will be priced at $25. Of course, you can get wholesale prices as well per case, which is 30 dozens for $285. Those are put out by the Department of Agriculture. Why? Because there are various subsidies that are offered to our farmers by way of feed and other supplies that are available down there at the supply office. Even the containers that these eggs are placed in are sold down there at the supply office. Well, I say supply office, well, there's no other term to use. We normally supply office. Yeah, so those are available down there at subsidized cost to the farmers, poultry farmers, that is. And so once you are buying eggs, buy local. Look for the local eggs. And here's the interesting thing: eggs that are imported into Nevis, you have different grades, meaning you have small, you have medium, you have large, you have white, you have brown. Well, here on the island, one size fit all. You pay $10 for a dozen eggs. Jumbo, small, medium, whatever the case might be, you just go with your eggs, and eggs are eggs, yeah? But once they're local, you know, you're patronizing the local farmers. And so I want to recognize some of the local farmers that I made a list here. I may miss out on some, but I know those who are out there who are plying their trade and who are bona fide poultry farmers. We are first and foremost over in New River. Let me start there. Gerald Egg Farm over there. Wilroy Gerald, you know him. Anthony Jones, that's Jones Egg Farm. You have Grace, and you know who Grace is. She operates this kiosk up there at just as you come out of Central Bridge there, just below the Ebenezer Pentecostal Church up there in Gingerland. Floyd, of course, Floyd Liebert, he has his farm as well. Steve Reed have his farm also. Toya up there in Westbury, at the top of Westbury. I know she does some poultry business up there as well. I learned of this person recently, Mr. Weeks, who have a farm there in Victoria Road. Colin Archibald, I never knew Colin was into this thing, but Colin Archibald up there at we know Colin Archibald of well, VON fame, have his little farm as well too. Over in Butler's, well, we say Waterman. Everybody know him as Waterman. He have a little farm as well too. I'm using nicknames and colloquial names because you would remember these people easily. Rhonda Hapson have a farm as well. Over there in Mount Lily, on Mount Lily Road, Alexis Jeffers. I know he normally goes around and sell to various persons. Julia Nisbet over there have a little farm. And Arben Brown have a farm as well too. He sells eggs. Ingle Lawrence does some business as well, with poultry business, that is. And of course Laurel Smith. These are some of the persons, and Andrew as well. These are some of the persons who have their farms and sell some local eggs, and I want you to go out and patronize them, because of course I continue to reiterate that some decisions were taken back in 2013. These are policy decisions that were taken as the new Minister of Agriculture when I was there. I can relate to you that back in the day, persons who are not farmers were importing containers. I'm talking about those 20-foot containers of eggs, and they were flooding the market here in St. Kitts and Nevis, going to St. Kitts to sell to businesses there, selling to businesses here like our hotel and restaurants. By the time the local farmer, bona fide farmer, gets to these business places, they will tell you, we already bought eggs from such and such a person. So here are the local farmers going down to the supply office, investing in feed, investing in other supplies, feeding their birds. By the time they are ready to sell their eggs, they don't have a market, because some persons who were getting licensed, who were not bona fide farmers, were gobbling up the market, and so these farmers were frustrated. They came to me and sat with me, and they were frustrated. And of course, as a minister and as someone who is put there to manage the affairs of some of those ministries and departments, you have to make decisions. So we determined then that only bona fide farmers, poultry farmers that is, will be granted license to import eggs. And so we would have squashed that type of business and given and empowered our local poultry farmers to go and do their thing. And as such, we can now boast today in 2025 that there are more persons who would have gone into the poultry business as a result of that policy decision, whereby we determine that those who are not in the business of farming and poultry farming, that is, should not be granted license. Even if there was a supermarket here on the island that needed eggs, they had to go to a bona fide farmer to get a license, or the bona fide farmer would get the license so that they'll be in control of the process and import those eggs for the supermarkets. That is what we said then, and that is what still applies now. I hope that is the case, and I believe it is still the case, because those policy decisions should not be diverted away from those. We should not divert away from those. And so, more power to our egg farmers. You're now in control, in the sense that some of you apparently cannot keep up. That is true, and that may be a good and a bad thing in some regards. But the bottom line is, you're still in the game as a result of the policy decisions that were taken way back in 2013, when all sorts of people were importing eggs in this place and crippling and decimating the poultry sector. And so I say kudos to all who were involved then, including myself too. I'll take some credit, because I was front and center of this and made the decision that we cannot allow our poultry farmers to be decimated around here and find themselves out of business in any way. Yeah, so those are the prices that I just mentioned, that eggs, local eggs, should be sold at. And of course, I would say, eat local, patronize the local producers, so that they can be empowered to grow their farms and to produce more eggs, and to ensure that some of these external factors that are impacting prices and impacting the supply of eggs that are coming from Florida, wherever else they're coming from, that those external factors should not really matter to us, because we have done what we should do as a local government, as local entities, to ensure that we can cushion the burden on our consumers here in Nevis. That is what good government do. And that is what you should do at all times, to ensure that you are lightening the burden, cushioning that impact. And I will say that $25 for a dozen of eggs is a lot of money. A lot of money. But what is happening now, you can get 2 dozen eggs. Not only 2 dozen, you add on a little bit more, you can get 30 eggs for $25. Yeah? Okay, good. Let's move on from there. And I'm pleased about that. And there are other areas that we need to keep an eye on to ensure that we can make a difference in those areas. We may not be able to stop everything or provide solutions to everything, but those low-hanging fruits that we believe we can certainly pick, as they say, or make a difference with, we can certainly do that. And that was one of those things that I am so proud that we would have made those decisions, and those decisions are bearing fruit now, paying dividends now, and I am eternally grateful to the efforts of those who would have sought to enforce those policies then, and still continue to do so now, so that our farmers can be much more empowered to supply eggs to our local market. Let's move on from there. I've been listening to the NRP in recent times, yeah, and I come here, I talk politics. There's nothing wrong with that, and they're in full-blown campaign mode, But one of the things that it seems like they're campaigning and saying to us here in Nevis is that if they were to get back into government tomorrow or next year or 20 years from now, whenever it happens, or if it ever happens, God forbid if it happens anyway, they will go back to this revenue pooling, this VAT pooling system, or VAT pooling thing that they had some years ago, back in 2010, 11, 12, and the start of 2013. You remember the days when we were campaigning back then, when VAT was introduced? NRP would have sent all VAT money to St. Kitts, so they're pooling it in St. Kitts, and then the administrative work would be done, and whatever it is they'll get back, whether the same amount or get back some extras or whatever the case might be. We have always said as a party, the Concerned Citizens Movement, that is rubbish. And why I say it is rubbish is because we have sought to present a different argument. Instead of sending all that money to St. Kitts, what we have been saying all along is that those companies that are doing business in Nevis, registered in St. Kitts, they have their headquarters in St. Kitts, and all of us know who they are. We are saying that those companies that make their millions in Nevis, on the backs of the people of Nevis, they should be paying their VAT and their taxes, corporate taxes that is in Nevis. I don't think that is so difficult a proposition for anyone to understand. So you have these major businesses in Nevis, and there are times when we will outperform St. Kitts, because you know how I know that we outperform St. Kitts? Their annual report says it from time to time, that in construction, like the TDC building materials, for example, I know the days when you had all of these CBI construction projects in St. Kitts. Of course, they were performing well. But in recent years, Nevis has been outperforming St. Kitts in many areas. So when you collect all them big millions over here, millions in VAT, millions in taxes, and then you have all that taxes that is due to government is paid in St. Kitts, we are missing out on all that. And that is what we have been saying to the Nevisian public. We've been saying it and advocating for this in St. Kitts at the federal level, in Parliament and otherwise. We say, listen, the fact that they can tell us what the data is and tell us that Nevis has outperformed St. Kitts, it means they have the numbers. So if they have the numbers, they can tell us plain how much VAT they collected in Nevis. And if they know how much VAT they collected in Nevis, it means they can pay the VAT in Nevis too. You don't have to say you're presenting two different sets of accounts to anybody. I remember the days when I used to work at TDC, for example, and I use TDC as an example because I was there. And I'm sure those who work at Hasford or whatever the case might be able to speak in similar, cases, or present similar cases. When I used to manage TDC rentals, every morning we used to have to call St. Kitts and give them the amount of vehicles rented, the amount of monies collected for those rentals, and the likes. We had to provide those data to St. Kitts. And I use that example to say, if any monies are collected, or whatever monies are collected by TDC, Hasford, Flow, Digicel, whomever, national group of companies, the millions that they are collected, they know how much they can strip out and tell us how much was generated in Nevis. And if you can do that, then of course you must know what you should be paying in Nevis. So this whole talk about, you present one account, or one set of accounts, that argument is for those who don't understand. Because every penny collected in Nevis is accounted for, and they know how much it is. And so we've been saying, instead of us taking up our VAT money sending to St. Kitts, well, why not pay your VAT in Nevis? So we can collect it here and put it to good use in Nevis to develop the island of Nevis. So the NRP is campaigning out there that is what should be done. The VAT should be pooled and you get back whatever percentage. I don't even want to hear that kind of rubbish. My grandmother used to tell me back in the day when she raised me, she used to say, well, there's some dunce bright people out there. They said they sound dunce bright. Because it's as simple as it is. You generate your revenue in Nevis on the backs of the people of Nevis, pay your VAT here, pay your corporate taxes here. We're not concerned about no getting back no X amount from St. Kitts. What we are concerned about is that same non-tax revenue that is generated from the sale of our passport, we say, well, give us our fair share out of that. If it's 20%, give us. If it's 26%, give us. Let us get what is rightfully yours. I am not too fussed about any pooling of anything. And I'm going to say this to the NRP. Those days are long gone. We left them back in 2013, and there's a reason why the people left you there too. Because that can't make any sense. What sense it make to take up your VAT money, send it to St. Kitts, go through an administrative process, and then by the time it's ready to be sent back over, all of your bills are piling up at the treasury, you know. Back in the day, the NRP was late paying people's salaries, you know, because why? They were sitting down there in the treasury waiting for the monies to come back. By the same token, persons who were providing services to government had to be waiting because they said no money there, because they're waiting on this money to come. Meanwhile, things were so bad then. Those old ladies up in Stony Grove, down in Hanley's Road, up in Fountain, had to catch bus, run to town in the hot sun to make sure they paid it $200 at Nevlec, at water department, whatever they owe the government in taxes had to run in because the government was on their case because the finances that they were waiting for from St. Kitts just wasn't coming in time. But understand how VAT work, because if you collect VAT this month, the month of March, you're going to pay the 15th of next month. So the 15th of next month, you have to then go and pool it, and then by the end of April, that is when you're getting back VAT money from March. Whereas, as it is now, you collect your VAT in Nevis, you file your VAT on the 15th, that is available to the government right away. Right away. And so I don't know what NRP is campaigning about, other than to say, well, we're going back to the old days. They're taking you back. And we are saying we're not going back there because we have something that is working. And all we are saying to those who can make the difference, whatever VAT we collect in Nevis through these companies that are operating here, whatever taxes are to be paid, pay it in Nevis so that we can use it to develop the island of Nevis. We need it badly. So if NRP want to go back there, let it go back. Because I can tell you that if you add all of these companies together, and they might be collecting as much as in revenue, as much as $200 million annually. And if they're collecting as much as $200 million, put all of them together, because Nevis is money. I make in Nevis, you know, enough money. If you collect that $200 million, you find 17% of that. It's about $34 million. Cool, so. That should be here. And not having to pool and then you say you send back. No, pay it here. And I think that all of these companies could be good corporate citizens, you know, and tell themselves, well, boss, here's where we make the money. Let us pay it here. It's so simple. Those who are in charge of these companies and these institutions can make the decision and lobby, not lobby the government, but insist at the federal level. Listen, we make the money over there, let us pay it over there. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not going with what is not ours. It is generated here. And if it is generated here, well, pay it here. Anyway, let's leave it as that. Because I said I'll make that point because it really bothers me when I hear Nevisians, people who are aspiring, they say, to lead the island of Nevis, talking about backward things. They're going backwards, retrogressing. We're moving forward. And we're out there saying to those that matter, let us sit down and work this thing out so that the persons who are generating their millions here pay your taxes in Nevis. What is so hard about that? What is so difficult in that proposition or that scenario? Absolutely nothing. I know the conversation about the Constitution would come up, And we can debate the Constitution all day, all night. But there are things about the Constitution that are not working. But you want to work what you feel like. Okay? I see. Okay. Well, let's move on from there. But I want to say to you, and happy we long on them kind of talk there that you have about pooling. We're done with that. We're moving forward. Because our forward thinking and our forward nature suggests to us that those companies that are making millions in Nevis, we want them to pay their taxes here. It was generated using our infrastructure, using the island of Nevis and on the backs of the people of Nevis. Yes, we get the goods and the services, but we have to go into their stores. We have to go in there to generate all that business for them. Yeah? So, in that matter, or in that case, we say, pay your taxes here. And then this talk about pooling, man, I tell you. As my grandmother used to say, like I say, the way you call dunce bright. Yeah? Let's move on. Okay. You know, over the last couple of years or whatever period of time, you've always heard from the other side. I sometimes don't even like to refer to them anyway. But anyway, sometimes you have to, because if you don't look at what they're doing and say what they listen to what they're saying, sometimes whatever they're saying, that narrative can be misunderstood and persons can become misguided. Because I will tell you this much, you know, I don't know what you call someone who, you know, see the truth, know the truth, but still turn it into a lie. I don't know what you call that person. But there's some persons out there, they know what the truth is. They see the truth. They experience the truth. But somebody come along and turn and twist it and turn it into a lie. Yeah? Anyway, we'll leave that. But let me say something here. We've been hearing all along from the NRP, oh, CCM ain't completing project. That is what they're saying. Right now as it is, as far as I'm concerned, the only project that is not completed in Nevis right now, that is on not under construction because of the work being done behind the scenes to get it going again, is the hospital. I would leave that because the minister responsible for health would have answered a question that was raised by the leader of the NRP down in the Nevis Island Assembly last Thursday. So she answered it as complete as she can, and she said we're committed as a government to continue with that project. So I leave it there because they'll continue with that project in due course. But when you look at the NRP had 6.5 years in government. Let me remind the people of Nevis. People of Nevis, the NRP is speaking as if they never were in government. But they were in government between 2006 and 2013, January. So they had 5 years and 18 null and void months. So they got 5 and they took another 18 by whatever means they took it. Yeah? So they had 6.5 years. So it's not like they were never in government, so they can talk as if they don't have a history, but they have a history in government. And so you should never lose sight of the fact, or it should never evade you that the NRP had a history in government, and the history speak for itself. Because when they speak of projects that the CCM they claim are not completing or have not completed, I tell you the Wally water taxi over there is complete. We said we were going to do A phase, B phase or C phase, and we completed those. Same thing with the Mondo track. As a matter of fact, while I touched the Mondo track, something came to mind, you know. If you see that Mondo track over there, as much as the NRP would knock it and harp on it, the NRP never built no track in Nevis. There was some track down there at around the park down there. The children used to go down there and some grass track down there. A grass track, I must say. And I'll tell you what, since this track has been built across there by Long Point, our young men and young women have been excelling, not only here in Nevis, not only here in the Federation, but internationally, because of course we have students out there in the various universities, or men and women, I should call them that, who are competing at the highest level, at the collegiate level, and we know about their exploits because we get their time. the time that they will run in various races. From time to time we get those. And so we glorify those things. But it started right here at the Mundo track. You see that Mundo track over there? That surface, right there it started. And they have been doing a marvelous job out there on the college circuit. And we praise them up every day. We big them up on Facebook and social media. And that is what it is. That is complete as it is, providing the environment for all young men and young women to excel. And all of the other projects that are out there providing the services and also the environment for all people to take advantage of them. But you see, this thing about projects not being completed, right? Well, NRP wasn't completing project, you know what they were doing? They were abandoning them. I'm going to talk about a couple of them. You see that government house up there at Bellevue? That beautiful architecture up there? I used to sit down in Grove Park, E.T. Willett Park now, as a young man and sit and watch that building when I came to town to watch cricket, whether it's club cricket, St. Kitts and Nevis matches or regional matches. Look at that building, and man, it stood out up there on the hill, right over there at Bellevue. Beautiful architecture. It was built in 1909, I believe. So you can safely say it's about 119 years old this year. But the thing about that building, it got into a state of disrepair. That is where our Deputy Governor General is housed. Was housed then. And then, of course, it got into a state of disrepair when we had that Governor General, His Honor, Eustace John. He was moved out just across the street. The Concerned Citizens Movement bought lumber, Green Heart lumber, from Guyana. Gave a contract to, I hope you don't mind me calling his name, Alton Brown. He was the contractor who was assigned to that project in 2006. As soon as NRP came in, NRP terminated everything, got rid of him, shut down the project, left it right there sitting down. All of the Green Heart lumber was outside there getting sun, wind, rain. Well, no snow in Nevis, almost a snow. Well, all of the weather conditions. All of the weather. Snow, not snow. Wind, rain, everything. Hurricane came as well. And they were out there in the elements sitting down. That is what the NRP did, abandon that project. So, the Deputy Governor General then was across the street watching this building every day, wondering, I wonder when the NRP going to touch it again and get it fixed and completed so he can go back into the facility. Anyway, we came into government, and as soon as we started getting some of those monies from St. Kitts, the passport money from the SIDF, I told the cabinet, you know what, I'm going to take it on. We're going to take it on through the Nevis Housing and Land, and we're going to go and get that project going again, and we re-engage the same Alton Brown. And then by 2017, we were able to deliver that project completed. See it up there? Cocktails have been held there. Oh man, I think I saw Her Honor Deputy Governor General Hailita Libert and her husband, Mr. Libert, walking, going in there, holding hands one day. What a beautiful sight. What a beautiful sight. But the NRP abandoned it and said, that could stay there, the wood could stay there and rot. We don't think that way in this party and in this government. So we went and renovated it, fixed it up. And look at the building up there. So when the NRP talking about incomplete project, that was an abandoned project by the NRP. Not only that, over at VOJ and Sporting Facility. The CCM was, up until 2006, had started the construction of a pavilion over there, fixing up the field. But the NRP came along in 2006 and abandoned that too. Did nothing over there, zero, nothing, abandoned it. As if to suggest to the young men and young women out there, you all ain't worth a thing, we don't care a thing about you, we ain't touching nothing. Abandon that too. So we came into government, of course, and when we started getting the SIDF money, we went out there and built a whole pavilion, bathroom facility and the like. See it over there? Drive up there and have a look. But not only that, you see Cherry Garden after Cherry Garden didn't turn out to be what NRP wanted it to be, meaning it was supposed to be all politics over there, you know. Build Cherry Garden so that they can influence the election and put our names on the list. And as soon as they didn't get what they wanted, they lost the by-election in 2007. They lost the federal election in 2010. They lost, well, no, they didn't lose it. They took it by whatever means. They stole the election in 2011. But came back in 2013 and lost that. But anyway, prior to that, they abandoned Cherry Garden people too, you know. Yeah, they didn't finish that project. We came in and finished it. Not only that, we went and finished the soakaways that they didn't finish because people were out there crying because of the environment, the environmental hazard that was created over there. They started digging soakaway, and when they reached halfway, they abandoned the people soakaway. That's an happy for you. Abandon everything that they know. Once it's not in their favor, they abandon it. So what they did in Cherry Garden, they turned poor people into paupers over there because people had to go and find money. Some would have finished their soakaways, but then we went over there and finished those that were unfinished. So, and finished the entire project over there. So they have abandoned things in Nevis, you know. They're talking about, oh, you ain't finished this, you ain't finished that. And everything that they say that we ain't finished except the hospital, people are using them. People are enjoying them. Yeah? But that is what the NRP does. When they realize that they can say something without any rebuttal or without anybody challenging them, they think they're right. But NRP have abandoned the people of Nevis in many regards and abandoned things around here. And I will say this to you. We came into government because we understand what government is all about. So whatever they abandon, we pick it up and run with it and finish it. Whatever they didn't complete, we went and finished it. Even over there in Kuhun Housing Development, finished that development too. Put in roads. We came into government. The roads were in that particular development. No roads were in that development. We came in and we put in roads, finished the houses over there. Same thing down at Paradise Housing down in Jessops. No roads. We came in, put in roads. That's what you do. All those were incomplete projects, NRP. You left your incomplete projects too, you know. But you're talking as if CCM is the only party that have had a situation where something is not finished to the point where we said we were going to do phase 1, phase 2, or phase 3. Well, the 4th phase will be completed by the CCM. I'm not studying you all. All I know is that you all would have abandoned people, the people of Nevis in many regards, even up there in Gingerland. The last school to get a school meals program going and a canteen was the Joycelyn Libert Primary School. You know why? You abandoned the children in Gingerland as well too. Joycelyn Primary, Joycelyn Libert Primary. You abandoned them as well too. Because, you know, they were saying because the Honorable Van Samry, God bless his soul, is a representative of Gingerland, they won't do a thing up there. Abandon the people of Gingerland and the children as well. Because that same canteen was constructed by the Concerned Citizens Movement in government when we started getting monies out of the SIDF. See the canteen up there, you pass it, a big green building up there. That is the school color anyway. We didn't paint it green because of NRP. That is the school color. And they have a robust, a very good school meals program going on up there right now. That's the 2nd largest primary school in Nevis. But the NRP abandoned the school, abandoned the children. So parents had to be fending for themselves. But now things are on track, going well up there, thanks to CCM. Not only that, you know, while I'm in Gingerland, it reminds me of something, you know. You see that road, Church Road, going from Market Shop going down to the St. George's Anglican Church? The NRP started that, carried down, they stopped it right there by the church. Stop it right there by the St. George's Anglican Church and said to the people in Box Hill, Rices, Sheriff, Middleworks, you all could broke your all ankle if you all want. You all could go down there with your vehicle and drop in as many potholes if you all want. They're not going no further. They didn't go further down to Hanley's Road to do a thing down there for the people of Hanley's Road. We came into government and we went down and we finished that road down there. Went down to the bottom, almost down to the bottom of Hanley's Road and get that road done. So you all can talk and say what you all want, in happy, but I'm gonna come here and remind the people, because even up at Rollins, they used to be on the radio. Oh, you pass Hannah. God bless her soul as well. Hannah Allen, they say if you stretch out your two hands, you could touch both sides of the road. Both two walls were up there, one on either side. So we went up there and opened up that road, built up some highways in Rollins. So now 3 vehicles can pass in front of Hannah now. Well, maybe 2 and a motorbike, I suppose. But someone told me the other day I should not laugh when I'm on the radio, but I have to laugh because, when they're talking about the NRP, you see? Because they talk as if, people are oblivious to these facts. These are facts I'm giving you, that the NRP has abandoned various institutions here on the island of Nevis and abandoned people here on the island of Nevis, and now coming, sounding holier than thou to suggest to you and I that we didn't see, we didn't experience, and we don't know what would have gone on in this island. I've said before that the NRP up and down saying that they are the best thing for Nevis, or NRP best for Nevis. I will say to the people of Nevis, NRP best to keep from. It's best to keep from them. We're on the right track and the right trajectory, and I said to the people of Nevis, continue to believe in a government that continue to work for you. We have seen a lot of progress here on the island of Nevis in every possible area, and as such, our record speaks for itself. And I want to say further as well too, because you see, there are times when they go onto social media and say certain things, and they have the crew that latch on and jump onto it. I will say to the people of Nevis, do your research, because some of the things I just spoke about here, going back to the government house up there, and even the Joyce and Libert kitchen, I just went online and pull up these articles, because these things are there in print, because every time we went out into the field to look at some of these projects, we would have taken the communication unit along with us so that we can document these things. These things are there. So when they come and make it seems like, listen, CCM ain't doing this or doing that, the evidence is there to show that we have done and continue to do, and will continue to do, because the confidence that the people of Nevis have in this particular party in government is unsurpassed. Unsurpassed. I don't even know if the NRP have a party as such, because as far as I'm concerned, when I listen to the leader and I listen to anybody in the party, I don't even know who is in control and who is saying what. I'll say this to you, that if I have to laugh. The other day I was playing some dominoes and conversation of politics came up, and someone said that the leader of the NRP, as far as they're concerned, all she's concerned about is power and prestige. Power and prestige, meaning power, she wants to be the first leader, the first premier of Nevis, female premier that is, and the prestige is that, and power meaning she just wants to be in the seat. But she cannot articulate as to where she wants to take the island of Nevis, and as such, the people who I am talking to out there and listening to say, they're good to go with CCM. They're in good hands with CCM. Just like all state tagline, we're in good hands with CCM. And that's what the people are saying out there. But I am telling you, the NRP is criticizing everything that the CCM has done or is doing, and is providing not one solution to anything here in the island of Nevis. Criticize, criticize. But as they criticize, we keep our focus on. We'll stay focused. And what I'll say to you, all that they do, they come with a textbook and they say, oh, 17 United Nations 17 Millennium Goals. Not millenniums, Sustainable Development Goals. We don't pass the millennium. Sustainable Development Goals. That's all they talk about every time they open them out. And I keep saying that this country, St. Kitts and Nevis, the United Nations would have fashioned those 17 Sustainable Development Goals based on the successes we've had in this federation. Successes in every area. Check them out, the 17 of them, and see that we have achieved and surpassed those goals. And that is why they would have been able to put those 17 Sustainable Development Goals together. because of the success that we have had in this federation, and also here in the island of Davis. So, listen, sometimes time flies quickly, and it seems like I'm out of time. You prepare, you put together a whole list of things, and then when it's all said and done, you don't even get to half. Be that as it may, it was indeed my pleasure being here today, as always, and it is my pleasure being here. Next Friday, I will see how it goes, but there is a parliamentary sitting next Friday at the federal level, so we'll figure out whether I'm here or not. But my first obligation is to be at the federal parliament. I'll figure out how we get this one done next week, God's willing. That being said, my time is up, and I would want to exit now by saying, those of you who go to church on a Saturday, please go and serve your God tomorrow, and those who go on a Sunday, do likewise. And pray for this station, pray for all of the workers here, pray for Alexis Jeffers as well, pray for the island of Nevis, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Say a prayer for God's blessings to, see us through. May God continue to bless the island of Nevis, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. May God continue to bless us all. Have a wonderful and productive weekend, and may God continue to bless us. Thank you.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.
With all the power from the tower, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.